Welcome to Kids Academy.
Hello and welcome to this video. By now we know we can win a game of chess and we can lose a game of chess, but today we're going to focus on the word draw. And draw is a special word in chess that means tie. We've already spoken about stalemates, which is one type of a draw, but we're going to talk about the 5 most common ways to draw a game of chess today. The first one is called insufficient checkmating material, and this happens when both armies are so weak that neither can force a checkmate. In this game, it's king versus king. Neither army can get a checkmate. Remember, you cannot use your king to attack another king. Because neither team can make progress, this game is a draw. Same thing if it were king and a bishop against a king. Believe it or not, king and bishop is not strong enough to get checkmate. That is a draw. King and knight against king, same thing. A king and pawn, however, would not be a draw, because king and pawn, if you march your pawn across the board, it can promote to a queen, and king and queen certainly is enough to get checkmate. You've already seen that video. So insufficient checkmating material happens when neither army can get checkmate. Second common type of draw is called threefold repetition. And this basically happens if a chess position gets repeated 3 times in a game. Now, some players don't understand this rule and they'll move a piece back and forth 3 times and claim a draw, but both players have to be repeating the position. If one player is just shuffling a piece back and forth and the other player is making new moves, that would not be considered a draw. In this game, it's white's turn, and white is losing. White's down a rook. White would be very happy to get a draw. And white can find a way to get a draw by forcing black to repeat the position 3 times. And we can make that happen by playing queen e8 check. The king is in check. He cannot capture the queen. Black cannot block. Black has to run away. The only safe square is h7. Queen h5 check. Once again, the king only has one safe square. And you will see, by bringing the queen back and forth, we are forcing the king to shuffle between h7 and g8, and very soon we will have repeated the position 3 times, and we will be able to claim a draw. Unfortunately, there's nothing else black can do. His hand is forced. The king must go back and forth between these 2 squares until the position gets repeated. Third most common type of draw is called stalemate, and we've already talked about stalemate, but let's revisit this one more time. In this game, black is clearly winning, only a couple moves away from a checkmate. But as so happens in younger and less experienced games, one player gets a little bit greedy, goes for the second queen, and all of a sudden, it's stalemate. And remember, stalemate happens when it's the player's turn, the king is safe, but that player has no moves to make. Now notice how these queens are controlling all these squares around the king, but not attacking h2. So the king is safe on h2, but white has no moves to make. There's nothing left on the board. The king is stuck. This is a stalemate. So what could black have done instead of promoting to a queen? Well, if we promote to a rook, now we're preparing to do the ladder checkmate, and we also avoid stalemate. Now that this rook is here and it's not a queen, h3 is safe. White can play king h3 or even king g2, and the game continues. Black will get checkmate in just a couple of moves. After rook g1, the king has to come back, and queen g3 is mates. So remember, always leave your opponent a square to move to. If you're going for 2 queens, multiple queens, always be on the lookout. Make sure that it is not stalemate, because before you know it, these queens can attack so many squares, the opponent's king will not be left with anywhere to move, and it will result in a draw. Another very common type of draw is draw by agreement. Now, when you play a game of chess, you are allowed to offer your opponent a draw. And this game, doesn't matter if I were playing against the world champion, this game is very much drawn. material is equal, both sides have a bishop and a pawn, and because these bishops are on opposite colors, it's very hard to fight against them. Even if my pawn were to get captured, I could always sacrifice my bishop for this pawn, and then black could be left with a king and a bishop against my king. Insufficient checkmating material. Because this game is a draw, most experienced players would realize this, you could just offer a draw. And the way you offer a draw, there's a correct form to do it. You were to make your move, and then hit your clock and offer the draw. And your opponent has as much time as he or she wants to consider it. Remember, it's their turn now. Their time is ticking down at a chess tournament, and they have up until they make their move to consider your offer. They can either make their move and continue the game, or accept the draw, and the game would end right then and there as a tie. The final type of draw we're going to talk about today is the 50-move rule. Now, this doesn't happen very often, but it's important to know. And here's the rule. If both players play 50 moves without moving a pawn or capturing the piece, you can claim a draw. And what does that look like, you might be wondering? Well, in this game, black is way ahead. Black is up 2 rooks and a bishop. But this will be a draw because neither player can make any progress. Both kings, both sets of pieces are trapped on their side of the board behind their pawns. And after shuffling the pieces around for 50 moves, this would be a draw. All these pawns are creating this gridlock. No one can make progress. No one can break through to the other side. The rooks and bishops are helpless in this position. Even though black is up all this material, there is nothing black can do. This game will be a draw after shuffling the kings around for 50 moves. Black could try to get a little bit sneaky and sacrifice a rook to try to break the pawns and let his other pieces come in. But white just doesn't have to accept. Just keep moving the king, and after 50 moves, this will be a draw due to the 50-move rule. Now that's kind of a strange example, but the 50-move rule could happen in a situation like this. Now black has a king, a bishop, and a knight, and it is possible to checkmate with a bishop and a knight and a king, but it is very, very difficult. And in fact, it takes many players much longer than 50 moves to accomplish this. So while black technically does have enough material for checkmate, if you were to keep track of your moves and survive for 50 moves, you could claim 50 moves without a pawn being moved or a piece being captured, and that would be a type of draw. So in summary, the 5 types of draw we spoke about are insufficient checkmating material, threefold repetition, if you repeat the position 3 times. We spoke about stalemates. We spoke about draw by agreement, or making a draw offer. And the last one was the 50-move rule. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Subscribe to our channel to stay updated on new videos. Find links to our apps in the comments below.